Hi everyone and welcome to this video. My name is Роберт and I'm the General Director of Studies at ILS. Today we are going to talk about the following. We will talk about used to, getting used to, be used to and would. Don't be scared, even though the title is long, this is going to be an interesting and very useful topic. So let's have a look what exactly are we going to cover in today's lesson. We are going to talk about used plus to infinitive. This is something that we use when we are talking about things that happened for an extended period of time in the past, but they are no longer relevant. They are not happening now. Let's have an example. I used to bike to university every morning when I was 20. Nowadays, I don't bike to university, and also I'm no longer 20 years old. The next topic is going to be getting used to. This is when we are in the process of familiarizing with something or getting acquainted to something that is new for us. An example, I am getting used to seeing people wearing masks everywhere. When the pandemic started, it was something totally new. I was shocked to see everyone in masks, but slowly I'm getting used to it. Then we are also going to talk about be used to plus ing. We use this one when something is already familiar and is no longer strange. So for example, I am used to living in Russia. When I first moved here, there were a couple of things that were new, that were strange maybe, but I am used to it and they are no longer strange. And we are also going to talk about would, that is similar in meaning to used to, but we can use would only with action verbs. So for example, I would bike to university every morning when I was 20 years old. Now, let's talk about used to. We use it when something happened regularly or went on for a long time, but is no longer relevant. Here are a couple examples. I used to snowmobile a lot when I lived in Finland. I used to eat reindeer meat, but I never eat it now. I used to run every morning, but I gave it up. So these are things that I used to do in the past, but I don't do them anymore. It's also very important that used to is only for past. We can't use it with things that are happening in the present, such as Dave uses to work a lot. It's incorrect. We have to say Dave works a lot. We can use used to only when we are referring to past actions. Now let's have a look at how do we create questions, negative and positive statements. We will start with questions. Did you used to live in New York? Please notice that when we use questions, we don't say used to, but we only use used to. Did you used to live in New York? Or when did you used to live in New York? With negative statements, it's the same. We didn't used to go to the beach when I was younger. Or those countries used not to be enemies before. This is something that is more formal. She never used to like dancing. And the positive statement, I used to bike a lot. I used to hike a lot when I lived in Lapland. Now, let's talk a bit more about getting used to. So, as I mentioned earlier, we use this when we are in the process of transformation. We are getting acquainted, we are familiarizing ourselves with something new, and we are in the process. Here are two examples. I am getting used to the crowd on the commuter trains. Or I am getting used to meeting new people who commute for hours. Here I included these two examples because one is with a noun, the other one is with a verb. We can use getting used to, either with nouns or with verbs. There are some variations. She is still getting used to the cultural differences. Once this is going to finish in the future, or once it has already finished, we can refer to the future or we can refer to the past. Once she gets used to the cultural differences, she will be fine. Or once she got used to the cultural differences, she was fine. Now, let's have a look how do we create questions, negative and positive statements. Are you getting used to not understanding everything in Russian? I am already used to that. Here it's important to notice that we don't say, did you getting used to being away from your home country? So since it's in the continuous form, we have to use are and not did. Negative statements. I am not getting used to the huge traffic jams in Moscow. Or she wasn't getting used to the crazy driving style in Italy. And finally, positive statements. I am getting used to driving on the left side of the road. Second example, I am getting used to giving toasts when celebrating birthdays in Russia. First it was strange, now I'm getting used to it, and soon it's not going to be strange anymore. Then we also have be used to plus ing. It's used when something is no longer strange. We are familiar, we are acquainted, we are accustomed to certain things. Here are two examples. I am used to the crowd on the commuter trains, or I'm used to meeting people who commute for hours. Again, we can use them with verbs or with nouns. But we can't say, I am used to meet. I used to meet or I am used to meeting. But we can't say, I am used to meet. Get used to or got used to has the same meaning as be used to or I am used to. Living in Russia was difficult at first, but soon I got used to it. So it's no longer strange. Now, let's have a look at how do we create questions, negative and positive statements. Are you used to not understanding everything in Russian? Did you get used to being away from your home country? I am not used to walking long distances in the winter. I didn't get used to having huge traffic jams in Moscow. She never got used to wearing a mask whenever she left home. And the positive statements, I am used to driving on the left side of the road in England. Or, I got used to giving toasts when celebrating birthdays in Russia. The last thing that we are going to talk about today is would. As I mentioned to you earlier, we use it the same way as we use used to when we are referring to past actions, to past habits that were happening regularly or for an extended period of time. However, we can only use it with action verbs. We can't use it with state verbs. Here are some examples. I would bike to university every morning when I was 20 years old. Or, I would read a book every week when I was younger. We would go driving around the city on Sundays when I was younger. Only with action verbs. This is something you have to remember very well. I used to live in New York when I was a child. We can't say, I would live in New York when I was a child. Now, let's have a look at questions, negative and positive statements. Would you read a book every week when you were younger? I wouldn't read a book every week when I was younger. I would not spend summers at our cottage when I was a child. And the positive statements, I would read a book every week when I was younger. I would often spend summers at our cottage when I was a child. Now, it's your turn. Let's have a look at our exercises. Your job is to find mistakes. Here are 7 sentences, and all of these sentences have mistakes. Now, please pause your video. When you are ready, you can continue to watch this video, and I'm going to share the correct answers with you. Good luck. Are you ready? Let's check the answers. The first sentence is, I use to wake up at 7 o'clock every day. This is incorrect. We have to put D at the end of use, and the correct sentence should be, I used to wake up at 7 o'clock every day. The next sentence, I would live in London when I was 15. It's also incorrect. We need to use used to. Live is not an action verb, So for that reason, we cannot use it with would. I used to live in London when I was 15. Did you used to go to primary school in Dublin? Did you used to go to primary school in Dublin? The D is not necessary because we are asking a question. And the auxiliary verb did is already in the past form. Now let's continue. I am getting used to living on my own. The correct sentence would be I'm getting used to living on my own. Jill uses to go to gym every evening. We can use used to only in the past. So in this case, we have to use Jill goes to the gym every evening. The next sentence is they didn't used to be a couple. This is incorrect again. They didn't use to be a couple. Again, the same thing. The auxiliary verb is already in the past, so we don't need the D at the end of use. And the last one. James was used to smoke a lot. Here there are two options. Number one, James used to smoke a lot, or James was used to smoking a lot. Great job. I hope all your answers were correct, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you are hungry for more, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can find there more interesting and useful content. See you next time. Goodbye.